Mom was a very special person. She was classic. She was personality, abilities, talent, very special. When we were out, when we ended, I ended up trying to get out of practice because I didn't like the third party problems with Medicare and Medicaid and the government looking at everything. So I was thinking the best thing for me to do is somebody should pay me. Okay, let me get on salary. Let me get away from this kind of garbage. Let somebody else handle it. Um, so I took a job in Missouri. Missouri was the prison system. I saw an ad or I went to a seminar and they had the booths that were trying to recruit doctors to go out and serve in prisons. So I took one up on it. They paid well and they paid everything. They moved me out there. And so that was a job there. And the only difficulty with that was the neighborhoods because we ended up in St. Joe, Missouri, St. Joseph, and there weren't as many Jews as we're used to. Well, but of course we're coming from Bayville, which is not many Jews at all, and so it was a little strange going Midwestern versus Eastern, which we're used to. um, your mother gets involved with Red Cross, very active in Red Cross. And she goes to classes and she goes training, and she became, I think, a psychiatric counselor. And so if they would have a crisis, they would send a psychiatric counselor to calm down people. The Red Cross is supposed to be non-sectarian, and we had this problem in Bayville also. Whenever there was something that got with the kids, like let's see, when they gave out trophies for soccer, and they gave out, and I remember one issue with the coach at the football coach in the high school, and I remember other issues with that. Also, the Red Cross, where they have an invocation before any kind of a meeting. Usually they have some sort of minister or anybody. And they would start in with, we want to thank everybody that showed up. We want to thank everybody that's here. We want to thank the good luck we've had in being able to do our job. And this is in the name of the Father and Son and Holy Ghost. Okay? Jesus Christ. And at the end of this is when your mother would get up. And she'd go to the person that just said this and said, I really appreciate your speech. And there are some people that don't believe in what you just said. And what do you mean? As far as I'm concerned, everybody believes that. And she says, well, some people are not your religion. And, oh, we're really sorry. We want to apologize for that. Next time, maybe next year, we'll make sure this is changed. She was in the Red Cross routine for several years. And they did this every year. And every time they did this, they would apologize. And it ended up, the last year we were there, they came to her and said, we would like you to give the invocation. And that was cute because she was stressed out. She didn't know what to do. She was not ready to do this kind of stuff. And I remember working out what she was going to say, planning it, writing it down and stuff like that. It ends up, she was a very good writer. And it ends up, as conclusion, they wanted a copy of it so they could use it for the next year. Good. But it included everybody. It included atheists, it included mosques, it included synagogues, it included churches of all denominations, everything. Right. The Buddhists, and but that was interesting.
Any stories about that party that we had?
Oh yeah, we went. I think, I don't know. It was a cruise. I don't know where we went. Maybe a seminar. And you were teenagers. And we came back and we noticed everything was really clean and nice and proper. Uh, the only thing we noticed though was that when we walked on the floors, the wood floors, it was slippery, um, and couldn't figure out why. Uh, then in another instance, during cleanup, for some reason, she noticed a beer cap. Then, for some reason, she'd go out shopping, and the person in line and in front of her or behind her would say, "Really appreciate what you did over there with the kids. You know, the party you had." And she would play as if she doesn't know anything. No, she knows that. "Oh yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. Uh, what time did it end?" You know, and little leading questions to try and get the answers of what really happened because we didn't know what went on. And then she put two and two together and realized that somebody waxed the floors, and which we never did before, made it so slippery. So she started on, and then I think she confronted David uh, with some sort of questioning, saying, "Hey, did you have a great time at that party?" And I think David told you guys, saying, "Hey, she knows." And that I remember. But she was the one. She was a detective on that.
She's going.
She realized that the burden of everything in the household was hers. Okay, and I would go off and disappear, during the day to the job, and come home and I hear about this, and I would try and brush it aside, or listen to her or whatever it was, let her talk and say, "Well, okay," not answer, no conclusion. Um, anyway, at that point, she came up with a list of really what she's worth, and the per hour, what she should be paid or earning or something like that, and came up with a phenomenal score of how much money she's worth. Then she counted the number of birthday cakes she made, throughout, per kid, per family. She counted the number of times she had to make the beds, how many meals she did, everything like that. It was all calculated. And came up with a total. And then I don't think I gave her much satisfaction with that. So she said, I think she started a strike. And she started saying, "You do everything." And I don't remember how long that lasted, but I remember the situation. It was very funny. There's a bunch of bad investments. Uh, I got involved with a restaurant from the Quins, and during those days, I was a entrepreneur with real estate, and buying a lot of properties and making them pay. Either I would take back mortgages, or I would get involved in real estate where people needed loans for some reason. I would lend them the money with the house as the collateral. And then they couldn't pay me back. No, the payments would be monthly payments for the loan, the house being collateral. And if they couldn't continue with the payments, it would be like treating them like a tenant. Or they would pay up the loan and then not pay up the loan. So for some reason, they were defaulting, and I would have to take the house. And some of the houses I got were like steals. It was terrible. But I had a lot of houses that were rented, and a lot of properties, especially the Quins needed money all the time to make their payrolls and stuff like that. They would give me collateral on second mortgages and things like that of their houses they owned. When they had this restaurant in Absecon, near Atlantic City, I thought that would be a great deal, because I figured with Atlantic City being redeveloped, the property value would really go up. So it ends up they put the thing together with me as the money sponsor and this guy, Mike, what the hell's his name? I forget his name. He was supposed to run it and make it work. And it was a classy restaurant. Along with that, there was another property down the street, which was a gay bar. Then there was another property before that, which was a bowling alley. It ended up that the gay bar burnt down, probably set. It was somebody, arson. The restaurant had to go bankrupt. To buy the restaurant, I had to cash in a lot of these properties from Quinn. So I gave away a lot of that stuff. Because at one time, I had my own stuff, including strip shopping centers and houses, rental houses. There were 26 income properties. Right now, I still got them. I got like 6 left. But it just evolved. The barge, that went with the bowling alley. it was idea. I don't think I really got involved in it because it was too much trouble. Because it was a barge that sunk. It was sinking, and it was just interesting. Because I thought, what a wonderful thing it would be, fix up the barge and live on it. But then again, I always tested your mom with the idea of going back to a house trailer, which drive her crazy. But that was it. And let's see. From the Midwest, we went to Florida. We always wanted to go back. In the Midwest, it was extreme temperatures. You know, in Missouri, winters were very, very bad. Summers were very, very bad. Springs were nice. But we always had in mind going back east. And so when I got sick also. That was the other thing. The Nicholas family, the males in the Nicholas family, had bad mitral valves, no, aortic valves. For some reason. Everybody's healthy and all of a sudden it goes. So we got my brother, we got Jerry Nicholas, we found out later, one of the first cousins, Jerry Rosenberg, who was in Connecticut or something like that, who I haven't seen since I was a teenager, also had the aortic valve. And I'm not sure if my father had one. We didn't get into that, but he had heart failure very quickly and died. And I know this is before they had all these fancy techniques. So I got sick at work, and this was in one of the prisons in Missouri. And I noticed myself being very, very tired all of a sudden, falling asleep at the desk and staying too late and the nurses were afraid to come into the room because they figure I'm pondering something. And so I finally realized it's a little late. I should be out of there. So I finally leave, but very slowly and feeling very weak. Got in the car. I called home. And I said, I don't feel good. And your mother said, well, maybe you ought to stay there, and I'll come get you and stuff. No, I'm going to come home. So I came home. She met me pulling into the garage and saw what I looked like, and I was very pale. And so immediately she says, stay in the car. And she got in, and we drove to the emergency room, the hospital. From the emergency room, they noticed that there was an arrhythmia in the heart. And they did some testing and stress testing and stuff like that. Then they flew me in a helicopter to Kansas City and right into the heart surgery thing. Whole new world. I was a member of the National Guard at that time, one of the flight surgeons. I couldn't continue with that because the fancy medicine I had to take after that recovery. I couldn't go back to work right away, and they were very concerned about that because they had to get another doctor to fill in. And from the hospital, I called them and I says, "Hey, I'm coming back. Don't worry about that. But it's going to take 6 weeks, 2 months, who knows." And when we finally made up our minds to go to the East Coast again, Florida, I did it by contacting the same company, and I asked them, "Do they have any contracts in Florida?" And they said yes. And so I told them I wanted to transfer, and it was all set. And when I get to Florida, they lost the contract. Okay, so one of their competitors was also advertising some on the other coast of Florida, and so we were able to get that job there. And they moved everything from us out of Missouri to Florida, to where we stayed in a motel for about a month, and then found a place to live and stuff like that. That brings you basically up to date. There's a lot of stories in between which I have difficulty remember, but they'll come to me.
Okay. Do you want to talk about Mom dying?
Okay. Mom always had stuff. Fanny always had arthritis. Harry, father, always had trouble with circulation. Ended up with a stroke, massive stroke. Mother ended up with heart failure. Another interesting story was Fanny used to come on a monthly routine to the to Forked River, along with seeing the kids, seeing the grandchildren. She'd also come for a treatment, which was acupuncture. And so every time she would show up, your mother would call the office and have me bring home the needles. So that was a routine thing also. Anyway, later, Mom always had a problem with gas. And we couldn't figure what it was. And we went to doctors up in Missouri to get a routine evaluation, and they do scoping to the stomach, and they realized that there was some irritation there. And she would be on medication for that. She went for GI series, and she would be on medication for that. Always having a problem, along with arthritis. And then she would have aches and pains, a lot of joint pains. And the conclusion of the doctor was fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is usually a diagnosis you give somebody that's a pain in the ass, as far as a patient goes. It's a way of naming something that pushes them aside and treating them with various, either pain medicines or antidepressives or something like that. We came to visit David once in North Jersey. For some reason, I don't remember the details of it. But we went out to eat with David and Bobby, and ordered some stuff, and she had a tremendous attack, stomach attack, and doubled over attack. And I couldn't figure why. It was part of her problems with the gas and stuff like that, but also she had tremendous pain in the joints and the ribs. I didn't know if there was some arthritis in there. Anyway, they called the ambulance from the restaurant. And in the ambulance, they gave her some oxygen, just routinely. And as we're pulling into the emergency area, she feels better. She says, "Okay, we're gonna go home. I'm gonna fly back, and we'll see the doctor there, rather than go in the emergency room and get involved in this thing." So that's what happened. They did a workup in Missouri again, couldn't find anything really as a problem. Came now to Florida, and We're there almost a year. We rented the house that I'm in now. We were due to buy it, and let's see. Okay, we closed on the house on August 2nd, uh, 2002. Um, August 9th or 11th, I guess 11th, she goes to the doctor. Oh, no, probably the 9th. She goes to the doctor and he says, okay, this looks like a gallbladder. Uh, Goes to the hospital, gets admitted. On the 11th, they do some X-ray work, and sure enough they see something in the gallbladder. Scheduled for surgery, I think on Sunday, the 11th, and then meanwhile I take her there. She's goes through anesthesia and stuff like that, and I'm wandering around the hospital looking for things to do because it's going to be a couple of hours before she's in. Then I got paged by the surgery people saying, Dr. Nicholas, please come to the waiting room area or something. And I show up there, and the surgeon comes out, and the nurse comes out, and they're sitting one on each side of me on the couch. And they're saying, we opened her up, and we closed her. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? And sure enough, they found tumors of the gallbladder, tumors of the lining that goes over the intestines, and tumors that spread into the liver, and metastatic. And when they said the gallbladder, I knew that there's trouble because I had a patient like that. And so I told the doctor, we have to tell her. And so that's what I did. She was trying to get out of recovery, and I go back there, and I told her it's very bad news. And it took, 2 weeks and a day. That was it. Along with this tough love thing was also, the year before that was the 9/11 situation. And the 9/11 situation was still in Missouri. Went to the wedding of Marty Byrne, 52 years old, finally getting married, the day before in New York. And we can't get out of New York to go back to Missouri because they shut down everything. You can't get it. Bridges are closed. We finally get into, they opened the bridge. We stayed at Nissan, a friend of your mother. Finally got to Philadelphia to fly out and stuff like that. 2 weeks later, they send her back to take care of the Port Authority workers for stress relief and, that kind of stuff. And she was about 2 weeks for that. That was her. That was her personality. Very special. She used to be funny enough, very, very funny. And so we would be laughing. The two of us would laugh, together, and anticipating what she was going to say or what I was going to say. It's very funny. They actually offered her, they wanted her to do stand-up, in some of these things.
Yeah.
She would have a stand-up routine for women's problems.